Last time on Round Sailing, we mounted our new solar arch and finalized the mast project. All the projects are coming together now, and Round 2 has got some really great updates. After some test mounting, the solar panels were now ready for the final mount.
Very cold day. Trying to mount panels, but I had to drill some of the holes through the stainless here.
We're using the harness now that we got for her. So this she can have this on board and be clipped into something so she cannot fall overboard or when she's in the cockpit. But it's great now when she's walking here on the dock and I can pull her. It's kind of like she's on a leash. Man ska kolla in allting, ja. Have to check everything out. Oh.
It's pretty cold today, it's below freezing and it's pretty windy today, so I hope I can get all the bolts in place before they fly away. I'll put these washers between the panels and the stainless. They're in vinyl, just to prevent any galvanic corrosion from dissimilar metals between the stainless and the aluminium. The only problem with this is that the holes out there in the stainless aren't drilled yet, so I'll probably will need to stand in the dinghy and drill those holes. These panels are on 400 watts each and they come from a company called SunPower, and I think it's the panels with the highest efficiency on the market, close to 23%. So 400 watts in an area that's 1.6 by 1 meter per panel, and of course because the efficiency is that high they cost a bit more than other panels. We paid close to $600 each. But because space is a premium on a sailboat, I think it's definitely worth getting the panels with the highest efficiency when you're doing this, because they're going to sit there for a while. All the bolts are now in place and I have tightened everything down. And I think it looks very good. So now it's only the cables left, and I can tell you this was just in time because now it's starting to snow pretty bad and my fingers are pretty cold. So I think that's enough for today.
So this is our second winter living aboard Round 2. And the hardest thing with living on a boat in the winter is condensation. So this thing here is a must, a dehumidifier. This is running 24/7. It has this little bucket here that we empty when it gets full. But if we would leave the boat for a longer time, we could keep the whole thing in the sink just with a hose and it would drain into the sink. But this is taking away the humidity inside the boat, because the condensation is creating from our like breathing air when we're cooking, all that humidity that comes. So the surfaces in the boat gets cold from the outside, and then with all the humidity in here creates the condensation and all the drops. And this boat is insulated, so it's not too bad as it would be if we would live on a boat without any insulation at all. But for example, around the windows, like all the portholes and hatches, there's no insulation, so there we get condensation. So even if we have this dehumidifier, we get some condensation. So what we typically do is to we just wipe the window frames like once a day, and also in there. But it is a little tricky, and you always have to think about it. And for example, all the storage spaces that are against the hull, you have to think about those and preferably keep the doors open, so to let some ventilation. And you cannot store too much things in there, because if there is too much things and it cannot breathe, it creates mold pretty quickly. And we have unfortunately found some. Like the other day I opened this closet in the forepeak where we keep our sailing clothes and wet weather gear and the life vests, and yeah, there was some mold in there. So, but I've cleaned all the surfaces and all the stuff that had mold on it with water and vinegar. We call it etika in Swedish, like 12%. We just wipe everything off, and that will prevent a little bit from mold coming again. It takes away most of the like mold spores. One thing you can do to keep the condensation out on the window hatches is to put insulation on top, like this normal like foam that you sit on, and cover it. But then you don't get any light inside, and it's already pretty dark in here, so we wipe the water off instead. So the situation on board right now is pretty messy. I can show you a glimpse of what it looks like in the forepeak. We have all the lockers open, and I've taken most of the stuff out. We found some water on the wood in there because we had some stuff leaning against the wall, but everything dried up and is gone now. So I guess you can say that's the biggest difference from living in a house on land and living on a boat on the water.
So this is our new radar bracket from Scanstrut, and it's a self-leveling type, which means that the radar will always be in level with the horizon, even if the boat is heeling. We will mount it alongside the backstay. These two pipes will run next to the backstay, and the actual dome will sit about half a meter higher up than the solar panels. So it won't sit above the panels, but just in front of them. And if there is any shadow coming from this on the panels, there will also be a big shadow from the mast from the same direction, and that's pretty hard to avoid on a sailboat. So I think this is going to be really nice. We used to have the radar in the mast, but I think it's a better solution to have it here on the backstay, and also with the self-leveling function in it. So the first thing I need to do is to mount this bracket, and it's going to sit on the backstay chain plate like this, and then those aluminium extrusions are going to stand up here right next to the backstay. So I need to take up two small holes, put some threads in here so I can have two bolts, and I will bolt this in place.
playground, Vera and I.
So now the 2 holes are drilled and I'm taking up the threads now with this tap. So next step will be to mount a bracket, but first I think we're going to have some lunch. So now I just have to mount the bracket like this, and I will set the bolts with some thread lock. So this is how the aluminium extrusion is going to sit. So there's 2 pieces like this. One goes on top of here, so I guess we'll end up about half a meter above the panels. So this is the heart of the whole radar mount. This is what's keeping the radar level to the horizon. This axle here can move, and the actual mount for the radar sits down here. But because we're going to have the aluminium extrusions in front of the backstay, I need to move this piece to this side instead. So that's what I'm doing now. Looks like that. And I think that this is hydraulically dampened, so there's oil in here, but I'm not sure. And not much luck today. It started up so good and now it's just pouring down again. It looks like the rain has stopped for now at least. So I'll try to continue. So the next piece that goes on is the next aluminium extrusion. And there's another extrusion or aluminium piece that will sit between those 2 with 2 bolts in each of them. Put some Loctite on them, especially on these stainless threads that goes into the actual aluminium, because if you don't have that there will probably be galvanic corrosion. Can be hard to take it apart in the future. So I mount everything down here, this whole piece, together with the bracket for the radar and the actual radar as well. And then I lift this whole piece up and connect it to the other extrusion. So it will be in the correct height. But it's been raining quite a lot today, so I haven't got that much done. And there's not a lot of daylight left, so we'll see if I have to continue tomorrow maybe. Beautiful morning, a bit crisp, cold, and today I'll try to finish the work with the radar bracket, because tomorrow we're going out sailing. It's supposed to be sunny, moderate winds tomorrow, but cold. It's going to be 5 to 6 below zero, so freezing temperatures. But we only plan to go out for a couple of hours, sail to Barsebäck, where my parents live, and try everything out, the new sails and the mast, the SMF system. I'll use these bolts, one down here and one up here, to adjust the angle, because not all boats have the same angle on the backstay, so you need to adjust this so the radar is level to the horizon. So now this whole thing is ready to be lifted up and connected to the other extrusion, and after that, of course, I need to connect the power to the actual radar. Because this is a Wi-Fi radar, there is only a power cable running to it, no actual radar cable, which is nice. Makes it a lot easier. So I think I'll wait with electricity until I will be running the cables for the solar panels and everything else here on the arch. The cable will run inside this extrusion, but I will exit the cable somewhere in the same height as the panels. Looks nice.
Today we're going out sailing. It will only be mommy and daddy who go sailing today. Vera will she will go with her grandparents. Hej då Vera!
It's cold today. It's 4 below zero. I have to be extra careful with this stuff now when it's frozen, so it won't crack. So I think I'll roll it up.
I'm wiping off the windows right now and the spray hood windows. It's just like this ice slush. The sun is shining on the spray hood now, so everything is starting to melt. So it's better to wipe because it's just starting to drip so much.
Tell me.
Oj, vad tajt.
Ja, men vad We mixed up. Jag tyckte fan var liten, eller? Getting off the dock isn't easy on days like this. Look at this. Frozen solid. This will take a while, I guess.
It's like stuck to the deck. So. Finally, after like an hour later, we could leave the dock and head out to sea.
How does it feel?
Good, it's cold. But it's a lovely day, so totally blue sky and sunshine.
Okay, we hoist the sail now. Not the best day to try out this new setup. A little bit too much wind. Yeah, feels good. We're doing 7.5, but we have quite a lot of big reef in the main right now. Also in the Genoa.
The wind was around 18 knots, and even if that's not a lot, it's not comparable to 18 knots in, let's say, the Caribbean. At minus 5 degrees Celsius, the air density will be around 10 to 15% higher than in the tropics, and this will make the boat heel more even if the wind speed is the same. So when sailing in cold air, you have to reef your sails earlier than you would in warm air.
So this whole setup is new for both of us, having a rolling furling main. So of course we want to try this system out when it's a bit more calm winds. And right now it's gusting to 18, so it's a bit too much. I hope we can get the day with a bit less wind this week, so we can try it out a bit more. The sails look perfect. The Genoa is a bit smaller than the old one. This one is 135% and the old one was 150. So I think this is more, better for us. And it's also a lot lighter, this cloth, so it lifts easier. You can sail with it in lighter conditions.
It's nice to be out sailing in the middle of the winter.
So we reefed a bit more on the Genoa, and we're going a bit higher against the wind now.
There is more testing and learning to be done, but we were quite happy to reach port on the coldest day so far this winter and warm up again. There will be freezing degrees during the night as well, so now we're hanging up all the lines to try to minimize the risk of them freezing. But everything is really wet now, so I don't know how it will go. I guess it will freeze anyway. Thank you for watching. If you liked the videos and want to see more, check out our Patreon page to see how you can support our production.